Boom. Guitar Friends, episode 39.
39.
39. I didn't time this that well.
Do I have to say that also?
We're waiting. Well, you better know.
Guitar Friends is on. Maybe you're in your car or mowing your lawn. Just turn it up. The Guitar Friends are on. The greatest podcast about guitar is on. As long as you don't count all the ones
keep
that
going,
have
Desi.
guests and are very intentional about actually having guitar-related conversations. Guitar Friends is on. This is Guitar Friends.
Oh, yeah.
HW, Sooze, and
Desi.
That was a good catch.
About guitar, but also some other stuff will be discussed too. But it's most about guitar, unless we get distracted and talk about Hooter Teslas or how annoying it is that Californians keep moving everywhere and bring their terrible ideas and ruin their state to Nashville.
What?
But looks with guitar.
But mostly guitars. Wow.
Wow. Desi, what did you think of that song?
Really probably need to listen again more carefully.
Well, I can tell you the lyrics.
The lyrics are
It
incredible.
really does, though,
Yeah.
cover what Guitar
Exactly.
Friends encompasses.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
Now, AI is brilliant. It is genius. I did write the lyrics. So I was putting in a bunch of prompts. Here's what the podcast is about. Here's the people. Here's the themes. And it was spitting out some good stuff. But finally, I was like, let me go to the advanced kind of setting thing on suno.com. And I wrote out the lyrics. So I was just kind of messing around. It was like, it's the greatest podcast as long as you don't count podcasts that are actually very intentional about having guitar-related conversations. Guitar Friends is on, And then it's like, it's mostly about guitar unless we get distracted and start talking about food or Teslas or how terrible it is, how annoying it is that Californians keep moving everywhere and ruin and bring their terrible ideas that ruin their state to Nashville, but mostly guitar. So I was just venting. And I was just venting. And then I said, now put it to funk, and this popped out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Now I did try a good 12 times before it popped out this.
I didn't even really get to hear the other one, the non-funk ones. I think you were showing John. And
and
this kind of ruined it because it was like, that's the best one.
I probably tried 5 or 6 of these, but we did some others earlier on.
Oh, yeah.
And it wrote its own
Country.
lyrics. And it has some good stuff, Sooze with her nimble fingers.
Yeah. It mistook me for a female guitarist.
It's a progressive AI.
Yeah.
Anyway, Guitar Friends, episode 39. We're here.
My.
Yeah, my, how far we've come. I'm HW.
I'm Sooze.
And sitting in for
I am not John 2.
Not John 2. This
right.
is the lead guitar player of America's #1 tribute to Huey Lewis and the News, Heart of Rock and Roll.
Wow.
I'm one of their guitar players.
Is the name of the band?
The Heart of Rock and Roll.
That's the name of the band.
which is also a song. The Heart of Rock and Roll.
All right, we've hit our quota of guitar-related content for at least the next hour.
Yes.
We're not allowed to talk about guitar for the next hour.
Yeah. The people have spoken. They don't want to hear
No,
about
I'm
guitar.
kidding. What are you playing there, Desi?
Oh, what we have the brand new 2024 Paul Reed Smith SE NF3.
The NF3. Now, how'd you get this?
Well, maybe the more important question is, why did I get this?
Why'd you get this?
Yeah.
Sure. We know how you got it. When you're a VIP like Desi, guitars just show up in the
It's true.
mail
In the
sometimes,
mail,
you know?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
From time to time.
But anyway, they sent you this guitar, and it's awesome. It's a new model, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And tell us about it. You've played this thing out?
Well, so I have a variety of guitars, including a handful of Paul Reed Smith guitars,
Yeah.
and I love them, and they work well for me. And somebody was actually recently talking to me about my PRS collection, and it's like, well, why don't you get more? And I said, well, I'm just so satisfied with the ones that I have. I've got a DGT, I have a McCarty 594, I got a few others.
Sooze, on the edit, just so people know who we're talking to, because we didn't really introduce Desi, can you just zoom up on his torso for a moment so everyone will
For sure.
recognize Desi?
Yeah, right.
This is, there we go.
Oh, that guy.
Oh, that guy. There he is.
That's funny.
The guy that does.
Of Tone Junkie demo fame.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but Desi, you also have a very popular podcast, much more popular than this podcast. We should.
But I don't have an AI generated jingle like
No.
you have.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So yeah, I need to
Yeah.
do that. But shout out to Guitar Music Theory podcast
Yes.
by Desi Cerna. It's out there. Tune in if you're a guitar engineer. So anyway, funny story. I'm like, I don't need any other PRS guitars. Good for them. They're releasing new models, but I've got a handful, and they are. What am I hearing back here, by the way?
Oh, just some like cicadas.
Some
that-
wildlife.
The mics don't really pick it up. It's just a nice. It's just a nice ambience for us.
Yeah, I'm not losing my hearing.
I think maybe it's a cardinal,
Okay.
or it could be. I think it's mostly a cicada. There is like something going.
I wasn't expecting cardinal.
Well,
but
apparently they heard our conversation because it just stopped.
Yeah.
They're like, I know
they're
where I'm
aware
not
now.
wanted.
No.
Tell me if you see a wasp, because we just had a wasp nest back there, and it was getting quite large. But apparently the wasp removal companies don't work over the 4th of July. So nobody told that to the wasps. So they were working through the whole thing, and
Working on you guys.
yeah, working on us.
Yeah.
They were just building their nest right under the little playground structure out there, right above the kids' tire swing, and they weren't too aggressive unless you got real close.
Any stinging incidents?
No, but I could see there were lots and lots of wasp larvae or whatever in that thing, and it was small enough. I would, if they're not active, you can knock them down, and you just if you see them and they're not, and you don't see any wasps around, knock them down, kill it, stomp on it, and then get away. When the wasps come back, they'll realize this has been destroyed. I'm out of here. They'll just leave it. They'll abandon it. They'll think not a safe place for a nest.
Yeah.
This thing got so big it was never not attended. There were lots of wasps around, and so we had to abandon it for a couple of days. And in that couple of days it took the company to get out here, it got pretty large.
Wow.
And so they came and sprayed it and knocked it down. And they said, get out there in the next day and go crush the nest. They'll all be dead, but you can just crush the nest so that it decomposes and stuff. And the lawn guy came. And he didn't seem to run away screaming, so I guess they're
That's a
all
good sign.
done. I'm sure he might have stepped on it. I'll go out there later.
You sent
but,
him as a representative. Like,
Yeah.
go tell us how it is out there.
but I did see some birds sort of eating the wasps underneath.
Oh, okay.
They were going. Anyway, okay, and that's enough on the update of my backyard. Desi, tell us where we were again.
Hang on.
Interesting.
Back to the AI generated jingle you
Yeah,
made for
yeah.
this podcast.
Yeah.
It mentions a lot of things. Does it talk about ADD at any point?
That's a given. That's a given.
There's a lot of tangents. Someone even recently came into the comments of maybe the last episode or 2 episodes ago, and they put a timestamp. And it was like, if anyone wants to actually hear the discussion of this piece of gear, which was in the title,
Yeah.
they were like, it's at 40 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And someone else commented, that's not what we're here for.
A true fan.
A true fan.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on.
Right.
Okay, so tell. So
All right. So anyway,
this thing, which is very cool, by the way. The pickups are great.
so I do some performances with this band, the Heart of Rock and Roll. It's all Huey Lewis in the News, which I'm a big fan of, and get to do all the lead guitar part. I'm a huge fan of guitarist Chris Hayes. I thought he composed brilliant parts.
Yeah.
Sooze is a huge fan. As soon as I just mentioned his name, he's like, the Chris Hayes.
Right. It's hard not to fangirl.
The one,
Yeah.
the one, the only.
Right. Yeah. So
Sooze has
prolific.
no idea who Chris Hayes is. We're going to fill him in at some point.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Huey Lewis?
Yeah, I thought he was a politician, but it sounds like he's a musician.
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Back to the Future?
Yes. It's been a while, but yes.
Power of Love?
Was that in that movie?
Yeah.
What scene is it?
Yeah, remember he was married to Angelina Jolie for a while?
Absolutely not. Oh, Brad Pitt.
That was Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, here we go.
Wait, hold on. Was Brad Pitt married to her?
No.
They were just in Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Brad Pitt was married to Aniston, right?
Yeah, Jennifer
Jen
Aniston.
Aniston.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Wait, what scene was that in?
It was kind of like it was a single that was released with the movie. It was on the soundtrack, became a huge hit, and it was used, I think, in a couple different spots in the movie.
Okay.
They also wrote the song "Back in Time" for that movie, which I played
Huey
for you, but it's in drop D tuning.
Huey Lewis may end up being a politician. You know, we don't know who's.
We're
gonna
not there yet,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, look, after Biden, it's a wild card. So, Kamala, Jamie Dimon,
Sure,
Huey
yeah.
Lewis,
Right.
maybe.
He might
Crazier
be.
things have happened.
Yeah.
You
Crazier
know,
things
Michael
have
Bolton
happened.
could show up.
Yeah.
You know,
I
You got-
love Michael Bolton.
Right. See, this is what I'm saying. One of those people
See?
who everyone kind of knows and kind of likes. No one has anything bad to say. And they just, take a couple middle of the road policy decisions that are
sneak in
popular
there, yeah.
popular with America. And pretty soon, I mean, we've never had a president play his own inauguration. Why not now? Did Bill Clinton play the saxophone, actually?
Well-
I think he did, didn't he? Did he play sax at his inauguration? He did on Arsenio Hall. But maybe he didn't.
Unfortunately, it would just be Desi Downer here. Huey Lewis has some sort of hearing condition where he cannot sing anymore.
Oh. Well, the president doesn't need to sing.
Yeah,
He can
sound
still
effects.
Just being there.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, out like some sort of
Okay.
tinnitus or something.
I guess we'll just wrap up the podcast with that.
Okay, finish telling us about this guitar.
good
Debbie.
time.
Okay, so so I play with this band, and it's really cool. It's a lot of '80s rock
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And I was thinking, I'd really like to have kind of a super Strat. They were popular in the '80s.
Yeah.
Something that maybe, had a humbucker in their bridge, or maybe some noiseless pickups or something. Because I do have a Strat that I really like.
Yeah.
But it's very vintagey and glassy, and it's not ideal for rock stuff, '80s rock stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
And then lo and behold, PRS announced that they just released this NF3 SC. It has, these are called narrow field pickups.
Yeah.
So they're voiced to sound like Strat pickups, but they're actually mini humbuckers. A little bit more to it than that. It's kind of a beefier, noiseless Strat.
But they definitely sound like a Strat. Like it hits your ear like a Strat.
yeah, 5-way switch.
But for sure,
all the
like
typical.
just throw it on the bridge, hit some chords. That's the first thing I noticed. Is it actually was pretty. It was rocking enough. You got any of those? Let me hear that lead sound. I heard that's a good one.
Well, let's go through the pickup positions. We got the the quacky.
Yeah. Let's hear it. Classic number 2.
Classic number 2. Who doesn't like a classic number 2? Right? That's the sausage McMuffin with egg
Yeah.
on the McDonald's breakfast menu, by the way. Solid choice there. So
Talking about food, check.
We did it.
yeah. That's the middle pickup.
Middle pickup. Who uses
Little
that? Nobody ever.
Cherry Garcia.
There you go.
Then the classic.
I have a sudden urge to take out my wallet and buy a Kemper pack from Tone Junkie. I just
You do, of all people.
even me.
Yeah, I want to go buy one.
even
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Even
And
me.
then, of course,
neck.
the neck pickup. I mean, so it's not, Strats are thin, they're trebly,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
glassy. That's what we expect.
Yeah.
So this is a thicker, beefier Strat.
Yeah.
But it's noiseless pickups. So, because I don't think I could use my Strat in the show because there's too many times
Right.
where I'm playing on a high gain
a lot of hum and
lead.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, doing stuff like this.
Ooh, This is it, Sooze. This is the tone.
If This Is It. That's the name of the song.
I wanna,
so you knew.
Yeah.
See, he didn't get it.
Assume all inside
That's why I
jokes
said this is
are. Yeah, have fun.
So
Have fun.
this not only is this it, it's also the 87 Mark III R4 from Tone Junkie.
Wow.
Yeah.
So there you go. And I'm not even.
That was volume and tone all the way up
Yeah.
there. Sometimes on my regular Strat, I have it wired where that middle tone knob is on the bridge pickup because you just got to cut some of the
you
highs.
got to get it out. Yeah.
I didn't feel like that was necessary. So
Yeah. Now let me ask you, because you have much more expensive PRS guitars.
yeah.
And you've got this one, and this is an SE, and it kind of feels like after they did the Silver Sky SE, that's been real popular. Matt brought one of those over. I thought it was great. We played it in a couple demos, and I played it, and I thought it was a pretty great guitar.
And same with the SC DGT.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't played one of those, but I've heard it's really good. But you're digging this. You don't feel like this lags behind one of the
No, I
American
don't.
models, huh?
And it just happens to be perfect for what I was interested in. I wanted a beefier, noiseless Strat that was kind of like my version of a Super Strat to do the 80s rock thing.
Yeah.
Couple other things I want to point out. There's only 2 knobs here. Master volume and master tone. And look at the position of the volume knob. It's not in the way of your picking hand.
Right.
So you can get all the way over on that first string. I can, at least, because I have big hands, and the volume knob always gets in my way in a Strat. So I love that knob, and I wanted to build a Strat. I thought I might have John Scott at Bluesman Vintage Guitars.
Yeah.
Maybe build me a Super Strat, put some noiseless pickups in it, only put 2 knobs, get that volume knob out of my way. I like the position, the 5-way switch on a Strat, as you like to say. PRS, sometimes they put this switch in between.
Yeah, right. In the
Here,
other spot,
I
like
don't
on the
like
22
that.
and the 24 custom. Yeah.
I don't like that. So I wanted it in this position. I love the PRS trem. It's one of the most stable trems and everything. So anyway, long story short, they saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, PRS, when they released this, I said, they just released the guitar I was thinking about building.
Yeah.
So I said, I got to get one.
Yeah.
And I immediately took it out to a show and played the Huey Lewis show in Springfield, Ohio. And it killed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love it, And bolt-on neck. We should talk about some of the other specs, though. So obviously this is inspired by an S-type guitar.
Right. But no flipped headstock. This one has a traditional headstock.
It doesn't have the flipped headstock like the Silver Sky.
Yeah.
So this is probably grew out of the Silver Sky.
Yeah,
the
it
SC
looks like
Silver
even the
Sky.
back plate looks like the Silver Sky back plate.
But I think there's some differences. This scale length is 25 inches.
Is
What's
the
the
Silver Sky?
I don't know.
I think it's like a Fender 25 and a half. It's the full Fender 25 and a half.
Fender
right?
is 25 and a half.
And that's just
Gibson
25.
is 24 and
24
3/4.
Yeah.
But Paul Reed Smith were always 25. He felt like that in between was kind of the sweet spot.
So that's in between also.
This is a 25-inch scale.
Yeah.
Length. I love the way that like the heel doesn't have any pointy corners and stuff on it. There's some nice.
Yeah.
It's contoured like a Strat. This neck, I think PRS call this their wide thin, but it just kind of feels like your Fender C-shaped neck.
Yeah. Where is that guitar made?
It says right here, in Indonesia.
Yeah, they're putting out good stuff. I mean, I remember having the very first PRS SE. Do you guys remember what that was? It was the first Santana SE
that's
model.
right. Yeah.
And it didn't even look like any of Santana's guitars. It was like its own model. And it was just completely different. It had a couple humbuckers. I should go track one of those down. Those were kind of cool guitars. And it was a great guitar. It was a great import at the time. But I feel like the stuff that they're sending in now is a lot better. That was a cool guitar then, but
they've really upped their game.
Yeah.
And I think you see that with how surprised people were with the SE DGT and the SE Silver Sky.
Yeah.
Like this is,
$800, huh, for all of them? Is that what they all are? 800? Are they all?
I'm not
800?
sure. I think this one retails for like $7.99.
Yeah, 800.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
and in my opinion, if this is what you're going for,
Mm-hmm.
it's just an incredible value and a great guitar.
Well, I'm always a fan of things that kind of push the envelope forward a little bit, because some of my favorite stuff is kind of vintage looking, but not always the most vintage. You know, like I'm a big Sooze fan. I love their P90s, and they don't really quite sound like they're not Gibson P90s, but they sound like something else. You know, they sound like P90s, but you know, they're noise canceling, and you know, obviously they're on a body that's sort of looks vintage inspired, but it's not really the right shape. But I dig it, you know, and it's a Fender-esque guitar. Same thing with like you know, my Stratocaster off
Your what?
my Stratocaster.
You mean your Strat?
Strat. My Strat off camera here. You know, two post bridge, humbucker. You know what I mean? So I dig. I like pickups that have their own type of thing. I think these narrowfields sound really good. That was what I noticed. Is it immediately hit me as like a pretty balanced Strat, because he always makes fun of the way I say it. Strat.
I picked up on that.
It always hits me as balanced, because even Goldie you throw on the bridge and it is a little too thin. You kind of want to thicken it up. Goldie always sounds good.
Yeah.
And you can kind of get away with it. But this sounds real balanced and everything. It's great. And I think that's awesome. So you're playing this thing live. How often are you playing out, Desi, these days?
Well, I just did a handful of shows with the band, but if you're interested in seeing me play with the Heart of Rock and Roll, you're going to have to check to see if I'm actually in the lineup, because they're off doing some more shows and stuff that I just wasn't available for. So they have, they do stuff on the West Coast, and typically they use a different guitar player for that, and they have another guitar player in the lineup here. But I got to play in Florida. I got to play in Panama City Beach, right like on the beach
I saw that.
at the Holiday Inn Resort.
Holiday Inn
there.
Express?
On the beach, though.
On the beach, though. And the villages, let me tell you,
stayed at
everything
Holiday
you've,
Inn
heard about, everything you've heard about the villages in Florida, it's true. Those people can party.
Really?
Oh,
And
yeah.
they love Huey
bet.
Lewis.
Really? I bet.
And Delray Beach, Florida. You know?
Yeah.
And then I got to play in Springfield, Ohio, not too far from my hometown of Toledo, where I'll be this weekend. My dad's turning 80. How about
Wow.
that?
Hey, all right.
There you go, Dad.
Younger than the President of the United States.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spring chicken.
And the next President of the United States, no matter who it is. That's awesome. Enjoying the well, what do you call your enjoying the tribute band lifestyle. Sooze, I heard you joined a tribute band recently.
A type of tribute band.
Ooh, do tell.
Yes,
No,
do tell.
it's so your church.
Wait, before we go
Yeah,
any further,
yeah.
you and I played together for the first. Oh no, it's not the first time. We've played together on
it
a
was
Sunday at
years
your
ago.
at Fellowship
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But we did play together this weekend.
Right.
But you were on the keyboard.
Not on the guitar.
You were on piano.
Yeah.
The whole week.
Yeah.
You did awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you did great, man.
It was funny when we started rehearsal. You kind of looked over at me and were like, "He can play piano." Like I
I was
didn't
like,
know.
hey, we're gonna get through this all right. We're gonna be all right.
It
You
was
had never heard him play piano?
It was almost like you didn't know for sure.
So Sooze
you know?
told me, he put it like this. He said, I said, oh, you play keys? Because he told me he was doing something else. And you went away on some other trip. You with a little group, you got hired and y'all went. And I figured you were playing guitar. And I was like, what are you bringing for your rig? And you're like, I'm playing keys, actually. And I was like, I didn't know you played keys. He goes, keys is my first instrument, actually. Now, a lot of times when people tell you, by the way, I'm not putting you down here. This is just...
Sure.
I took that to mean when people go, keys is my first instrument, I thought to myself, wow, that means Sooze is even better at keys than he is a guitar. Right. He's, he must be a virtuoso.
Oh, you thought he meant primary instrument.
Right.
Yeah, well, I realized that he just meant I started playing piano first.
That was the first instrument.
Yeah, and then you said, and then I think you dropped somewhere along the line. You said I played a couple times at Fellowship or what, just sort of filling in. And you were great. You played everything great. But then I told our music director, I said, by the way, Sooze is a great keyboard player, man. It's his first instrument, actually. And he goes, oh, great. Well, I'll call him. We might need to fill in. So then Sooze gets scheduled. And I think at some point you said something like, yeah, a lot of piano intros, you know? And I think I said, well, is
We'll
it
have the
good or
tracks."
something? And you were like, we'll have the tracks. And then I sort of realized it was like,
Yeah.
you don't really play keys much anymore.
No. It's far from my first instrument. I should have said it was my first
was an
instrument.
instrument I
Yeah,
played.
that was where I learned.
Right.
But, yeah, it's
But
just
you
like
did
anything.
awesome.
Oh, thanks.
I
Yeah.
would not have guessed you weren't a keyboard player.
There you go.
You know?
It's you can fake it with like the
Yeah.
easy kind of churchy music is
Yeah.
not super challenging.
Yeah,
if
we
it's
had
like
the tracks.
classical or
Yeah.
like some like a Huey Lewis type thing, I'd be lost.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
And we had the tracks. So we had like some and like piano and like
yeah,
like some of those elements were there. So
Yeah,
all
you
you
didn't
had
have
to
to
do
cover
is
very much.
Yeah, all you had to do is play the piano.
yeah.
And it
but
was
it was
good.
fun, like
Yeah.
being up again and playing and hearing you in the in ears.
In the in-ears.
Much different than in here.
Please critique my playing, Sooze.
No,
There
it
was
was-
no acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
It was drums, bass,
a light-
keys, and electric guitar.
light bands.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Playing the double neck.
You know, I didn't. I was going to, but we had a song in E flat, and whenever we have a song in E flat, I always want to switch to a guitar tune to E flat, so I can just enjoy my life and play in E. And enjoy all the open. So I didn't want to bring the double neck and switch guitars because that you got to be careful. I didn't want to be rushing, putting it down, and
Well, why don't you just tune it down for that one song?
well, I don't have enough time. It was in the set. It was
Right.
in the set, so I didn't have
know.
enough time.
I only have an hour.
Yes. Okay, right,
Who's gonna
right.
tune a 12 string
Right,
down?
because how
to
long
E
does it
flat
take
for
to
one
tune a
song?
double
You're like,
neck?
hold
Yeah.
on, guys, I'm not ready yet.
You could have left one in E flat and the other in
I
standard.
thought about
and
that too,
only,
but then
you
you're
know?
locked in. But then I thought, now I'm just holding two guitars.
Yeah, you can only play it.
So I thought, you know what? It's too heavy. I'm gonna play it not this time, and so I just pulled out the old a couple of Jam Pros, and we played. And when you're playing with so few instruments, it's
Yeah.
I mean, what are the melody instruments at that point? It's keys and guitar,
Yeah.
and then you just got a rhythm section, and it's lovely to play that way because you don't have to think about your part. Whatever you want to play, you're never in anyone's way, really. And so anyway, how did I do? Critique my playing.
It was great. A lot of ad libbing, which I thought was great. It was almost like it was the first half of the song was like kind of like low key. The middle of the song was like giving it some gusto, and like the last third of the song was like, I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah,
Just
well,
like
that's dynamics.
right? Playing high and filling
It's
in.
like
Yeah.
you gotta,
Yeah.
you gotta make this. You gotta make this song go somewhere.
Yeah.
You dynamically. You want to hold back.
There was a couple
And then
times
you
I
wanna-
looked over, and I don't know if we're going to be putting any video in this or not. of the
Probably
service,
not, but
yeah.
maybe.
But it was the pure joy on your face of like enjoying some
Ah.
moment or like lick or something like that. It was I could tell you were feeling.
It's
it,
just
so.
great to like land like play a little lick in between like a phrase and then just like where it just like
Yeah.
lands perfectly with the maybe the melody or right on a chord that's beautiful. It's just like there's so many great, and I've played all those songs so many times. I know all the little licks I'm going to throw in and where I might
feel
throw
free.
them in or
Yeah.
totally free. You don't even think about playing the guitar. You're just going, right now I'll do this. And I don't remember what I did exactly last service. I don't remember what I did.
Totally, it'll be
I just know
different.
we're
Yeah.
building, I have like these ideas. It's like
We even doubled some parts.
we doubled lots
some
of parts.
intros and stuff.
Dude,
yeah.
I'm the type I always steal the piano's ear candy parts.
Okay.
I'm always like, I'm playing this with you.
Might as well.
Yeah.
It's a prominent part. you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. I'd never played at their church before, so it was also
Yeah.
a new experience with new people and
Yeah.
clang in your system.
Clang.
all
Weird.
sorts of things.
What was the vibe like?
What do you?
At the-
For
I
me,
mean, what- yeah.
I was like, you were there.
I was there.
It
But I
was-
do it all the time. So it's
Yeah.
like being in my
Oh, I
house,
see.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, what's your house smell like? It's like, I don't know anymore. I don't smell it.
Yeah, that's the
you
house.
know? That's the
Yeah.
house smell.
Yeah, it was great, man. Super nice people, very welcoming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Micah is the worship leader, and she's just great. I mean,
Yeah,
very
quite the
welcoming
singer.
presence, good singer.
I
and
feel like it's just chill.
it's very chill.
It's very chill.
Yeah.
No one's too, at one point it's like, are we doing this or are we doing this? It's like, no.
Oh, that was the other funny thing was that there was no music director. So like John walks in and there's a mic in front of you.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, I can speak into this mic and you all hear me. And so I like instantly we're all just like looking at you for
Yeah.
direction. And you're like, okay, minor 6,
Yeah.
4.
Yeah. It was definitely one of those moments where I realized had I known that I would answer questions about like the arrangements, I would have bothered to like write down some notes.
Right.
Yeah, I would have bothered to listen for when the bass comes in.
Yeah.
Because like I said, a lot of these songs, I'm just listening to. My practice is I'll run through it one time. If you tell me, John, you're playing guitar by yourself, there's no other electric guitars. Here's the song we're doing. I'm going to run the song one time. I'm going to play it. I'm going to remember how to play it. I'm going to remember and then I'm going to be done.
Okay.
And then I'm going to do exactly what I did there, which is I'm just going to play whatever I feel like, and I'm just going to feel the band. And
Play from the heart.
We're building.
Yeah.
We're building. And I have some ideas. First chorus, I'm going to play this little guitar part. Second chorus, I feel like I need to start getting a little more. Are we doing an eighth feel? Are we driving? I got to be part of that.
Yeah.
When there's one guitar, it's like you got to, so, but if you tell me there's two guitars, now I'm going to learn parts. You know what I mean?
You're accountable.
I don't want to look like a doofus to the other guy.
This other person.
Because he's going to be like, no, at the second chorus, the guitar does this. I want to be able to say, yes, I do know that. You know
so
what
are
I mean?
you running through the songs twice now if there's another guitar?
Now I'm going to run it. Now I'm going to run it several times.
A little more intentional.
I'm going to run it several times. I'm going to actually listen, Because you run a song one time and you play along with it, you're not even listening for the parts.
Yeah.
You're just going from memory.
Yeah, what you're saying rings true. If I talk to someone about a set list and they go, hey man, here's the songs, just play whatever. That's one thing. Or if they say, hey man, here's the song, we really like to nail everything on the recording. It's like those are totally different
Those are
ways
very
of
different.
prepping.
And these are songs I played 100 times.
Yeah.
And I know, I know, like, I'm going to double the melody for this one chord. I'm going to double her melody line, but at the second chord, I'm going to play the first two notes, but then I'm just going to arpeggiate the chord, not stick with the melody. Like, I know, you know what I mean? I know what each singer does because this singer does this song, this singer does it. You just know it. You play a song a bunch of times. You know what I mean?
Okay, question for you, Desi.
Yeah,
so
Desi.
you're coming into this cover band. Is it important to nail note for note every single part, just like the recorder? Like, will they hear it if they're like, hey, that's a little different than...
Yeah. So
they're not America's number 2 tribute to Huey and the
Hey,
Lewis.
that's true.
They're America's number 1.
That's true.
You better nail the part.
Yeah.
yeah, so right, I did make an effort because it was important to try to recreate these parts as close as I was able. Particularly a lot of the signature parts.
Okay.
Like that intro I played to If This Is It, so melodic, so signature. Like let's just figure that out.
Yeah.
As close as
You got to
I
get
can.
that. You remember that stuff.
And
Yeah.
same is true for some of the solos. But there was a lot of material to learn. So there were times when I had to kind of make some judgment calls where I'm like, this doesn't sound like a signature solo. This just sounds like he's just going for it and just kind of jamming in, minor pentatonic or something. He uses a lot of Mixolydian mode, which I really like.
Yeah, I've always loved that too about him.
So
Try to sneak that in.
yeah. Which songs do you like when he uses
This Is
Mixolydian
It
mode?
is a great one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Power of Love. I mean, all the big ones.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are times where I'm like, okay, like I'm just going to kind of do my own thing here,
Okay.
and I'll just fill space in a similar manner.
Like if you feel like he's ad-libbing, you might ad-lib.
Yeah, until somebody else in the band said, that's not really how he plays that solo. And I was like, really? I thought maybe I could just kind of improvise there. This song was one example. Sooze, I know you know that song.
Who doesn't?
That's
Who
right.
doesn't know
right?
that? Yeah.
Because it's
It's an amazing song. Yeah.
anyway. That's that is I Want a New Drug.
Yeah.
And so for the solo sections for that, I thought I'm just gonna do my own thing. It's kind of A Mixolydian minor pentatonic. And then they're like, you're not really playing the parts from the solo. Like, could you take a closer look at that? And I was like, I'm not. So I had to go through and work that out.
Did you think you were?
No, I didn't think it was necessary because when I listened to it, I'm like, I didn't really hear what I thought were signature parts.
Yeah.
Right.
But now I
That
hear
makes
him.
sense.
He
Yeah.
starts it out. And so I went through and worked it out. It's pretty close. You know, I had to make some adjustments to like figure out, okay, our hands all work differently player to player. So it's like, what am I more comfortable with? Okay. But I'm glad it did, because there are some really neat parts in it, you know. I mean, that line right there. That's not something I would have ever put together.
That's outside, yeah.
Yeah. So, Chris Hayes. I mean, I don't need to tell you.
I know. Yeah. Longtime fan. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was.
That's interesting. Yeah. Just the cover band world versus like I mean, the church is its own kind of cover band. You know what I mean? Like we're playing other people's songs every Sunday and copying parts, but some definitely stick out as more. You have to nail this, and some are just like get something close. You know.
Yeah. Well, someone's coming to see a tribute band though. Particularly if they are a fan. Some people go to see tribute bands just because it's like, well, I've heard of Huey Lewis. I'm sure it's a good show. Other people are like, they show up, they've got their Huey Lewis concert T-shirt from 1988. They're diehard fans. They know the songs inside and out. Okay. And so you want to try to cover the songs as authentically as you can.
Yeah, they can't see the band now, right? Because they're not performing. Huh, interesting.
Yeah. So
you're it. You are Huey Lewis in the news.
You're doing it. All right, it's time for our guitar joke of the week. And these have been getting good. Now, last time you guys guessed them all.
Well, but, John was really a superstar that
John
day.
was really a superstar.
He was just like thinking really hard about them.
He was. I got a couple, and maybe one's like a little bit. How does a guitarist greet another guitarist?
They're usually about like working in a restaurant or like, do you want fries with that?
Yeah, it's like, how do you get a guitarist off your porch?
Paying for the pizza.
Exactly. You know.
What do you throw a drowning guitar player? His amp.
That's a good one.
He's interrupting your jokes with more jokes.
Got more jokes.
Yeah. I'm going to say, do you want fries with that?
Desi, how does a guitarist greet another guitarist?
How?
I'm better than you.
Wow.
Well, then there's how many guitarists does it take to screw in a light bulb? What is it? It's like 10, one to do it, and 9 others to say they could do it better.
How many guitar players does it take to play Stairway to Heaven?
4? Just guessing here.
3.
Apparently all of them. That's the answer.
Okay. Not bad.
Someone's going to post in the comments, jump to this timestamp.
Right.
That's when the jokes start.
Yeah. It might be the best part of this episode. We're not really sure.
What do you call a gorgeous woman on a guitarist's arm?
I don't know. I need John. He's better than me.
A tattoo. I mean, they're really terrible. Okay,
right.
Here are some reasons why guitars are better than women. A guitar has a volume knob.
Oh, wow.
You can make a guitar scream as loud as you want it to. You can unplug a guitar. You can go to the store and play with any of the guitars you want without being arrested. This is.
I don't know, man. These were not screened before we were
these
filming.
Were not screened.
You're reading these live.
These are. Yes, this is. Some of these are. If you don't like your guitar anymore, you can return it. If the guitar strings are too heavy. If a guitar is too heavy, you can return it for a lighter one.
Oh God!
Wow.
Yes, you can. Okay, they're just silly things like that.
The same
you can get rich playing guitar, not go broke. There you go. That
wow.
Well, that's probably the biggest joke of all of them. That you can get rich playing guitar.
Yeah. That's the punchline. Yeah.
Somebody is.
It turns out.
Somebody is.
Wow. Mm-hmm. I've got some good musician jokes. Here's one of my favorites. How many bass players does it take to screw in a light bulb?
9? I just keep guessing over here.
None. The keyboard player can do it with his left hand.
That's like a real music
That's
joke.
a real
You got to
good
know
joke.
about the
That's a
music.
dig.
Wait, Desi, I got to tell you a good
Yeah.
one because I wish I had saved it for this one, and then I want to hear more if you get them. What's the definition of perfect pitch? We did this one last week. The definition of perfect pitch? It's the ability to throw an Ovation guitar into the dumpster without hitting the sides. Because
What's the range of a banjo?
I don't know.
30 yards if you got a good arm.
Yeah, right. They're all.
I have 0 memorized. I can't really.
I know you can't. I know you
jump in there.
How do you know when a drummer's knocking at your
This
door?
guy knows a lot.
It'll be out of time.
The knock speeds up.
That's really good.
That might be my favorite today.
That's really good. That is really good. I like that. All right. This
Topics.
might be. Yeah. What did we have? We had some stuff, Sooze.
Well, we kind of covered some of the initial ones. The PRS thing. I wanted to hear about the band, which I feel like we've sufficiently covered.
Let's talk about this guitar for a second. So I love this guitar. It was I knew it was going to be a perfect fit for the show and what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I want to get your opinion on it because I know this guitar isn't for everyone. But my endorsement of this would be if you want a beefy, noiseless Strat that you can plug into your humbucker rock rig and not have to really make any tone adjustments, and you like the style and the build quality of PRS guitars, then you'll love this.
Did you play only that guitar for that gig, or did you switch guitars?
For the last gig, I played this the whole
Just that?
the whole
The whole
show.
time.
Wow. How long are you playing?
It's a couple hours. That was a long one.
Dang.
Yeah,
Multiple sets, couple hours.
Yeah, for that one. We normally don't do that, but it was that was just a longer
Do
show.
you normally switch guitars, or do you just take one?
For like a fly date or something, just one guitar because I don't really want to travel with more. But if it's local and I can bring more guitars, I mean, one time I brought a semi-hollow and a telly to switch it up
Okay.
here and there. But I could do the whole show
Yeah.
on this guitar.
Yeah, you
because-
did.
and I did.
So before you played that, you had all these tones set up for another guitar that you used on the gig, right?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. What guitar was that?
I would use a PRS, either the DGT or the I got a Bacardi 594.
Okay.
There is something really. I think this is true. So I noticed this about Sir, and I bet it's true of PRS. When you have guitars from one company, or like you're just using a couple of guitars from one company, I feel like at least those two companies they tend to work well. It's like you got the same set of ears tuning your pickups. So like it's like if your humbucker sounds like a humbucker, this is what you'd want a single coil to sound like. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like you should be able to pick up a Silver Sky, and I'm sure it's been like compared maybe to some of the other pickups
Oh, that's
that
interesting.
they've been making. You know what I mean? Like they all sort of work together, especially when you think like those NF3 pickups appear in guitars with humbuckers that are probably not very dissimilar from the one you're holding, which is
like this one. Yeah.
what do we call those? The 58.
I think those are 5708 PRS pickups.
5708s, right? So like when to me that's always like a good sign, because like one of the reasons I like the Sir stuff is that I love that their singles and humbuckers match so well together, and I feel like sometimes when you get a guitar, like a 3 pickup guitar, like a traditional Strat, and you want to add a humbucker.
Okay, I wasn't going to say anything before. What is the difference?
He says I do it like Strat.
Like a SCH?
Strat, yeah.
SH.
Strat, and I can't even say it the other way. Stratocaster,
Strat.
Stratosphere. But you know,
Stratosphere.
yeah, I can't even do it the other way.
Stratosphere.
I don't know.
Wait, can you say it?
Stratocaster.
And you say it?
Stratocaster.
Oh, I hear the difference.
You see it?
For
You
sure.
hear it?
I hear it.
It's like an
Now you
AV.
say it.
Let me try back to back.
Okay.
Stratocaster. Stratocaster.
Okay.
That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
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 Strat. I kind of do more I do Strat.
Yeah.
Strat.
Strat.
I'm sure a
Strat.
linguist could tell us
Strat?
what we're doing.
Strat.
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 That sounds
That doesn't
really
sound
good.
right.
Are you
Strat.
editing this?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
need to have clips where it just goes back.
Strat.
And Strat.
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 Strat. Strat.
Say like
It sounds like a
Strat.
No. I know. I can do it. Just
Yeah.
sounds Stratocaster. It sounds like I can't even Stratocaster. It sounds like
Goodness.
like a Strat. I can't even. It doesn't sound right.
I get it.
It doesn't sound like the guitar.
This
I know
is going to
and
be the
love.
opener.
This
It's something, or exactly when people click off the video.
right.
Yeah,
This is when the
we're
audience
not really
goes,
sure.
Strat.
Yeah.
Strat.
Sorry, I did
Strat,
not mean to get us
Strat.
that far into
Strat.
it.
I do say it weird. Now I will say this: you're the only person that ever pointed out.
Yeah.
So it's a lot like guitar tone in that way. Unless you put it in a real A/B test, you didn't even notice the difference. You've known me for years. I've been saying it like
I would
this.
have never called it out.
You never picked it up.
No.
Just like when people they go play this thing, it sounds great, and then they play this thing over here a month later. Something they have there's no frame reference.
No.
You got to have an A/B test.
When you hear them back to back.
When you hear them back to back, you
it's
hear the
different.
difference.
Yeah.
But if not,
Very interesting.
Strat. Yeah,
So-
it's there.
Are we going to talk about how we're just historically not PRS fans? Are we circling back to that?
Well, Desi's on the yay side here.
Yeah.
You're kind of always on the nay when it
I
comes
don't
to.
know. It's just hard to like be enthusiastic about them. We've talked about this.
Do you
on the
think it's
podcast.
just
Tell
a
us
nostalgia? You go ahead and
everything you
play
hate
that.
about this guitar.
Do you think it's just a nostalgia thing? Like you're used to it one way, and you
Fender
know?
and Gibson. You grow up looking at them. You grow up playing them. You grow up. It's like you get in the mode where those are guitars. Everything else is not.
I mean, for how many years did I have a Tesla and you rode in it before you finally just bought one?
That's true.
Took you a while to come around.
That's true. And I've owned PRS guitars in the past. Maybe that's part of it. Is that I came into a church one time and I brought it was like a black 22. Is that like a 24?
Custom 22?
Custom 22.
Yeah.
And I played, and they're like, "Hey, man, tones sound good. Great player, great hang. Let's not use that guitar ever again."
The PRS?
yeah. And I was like, "Oh,
Why didn't they like it?
I mean, not cool. Looks like heavy music. Like they're just like, yeah, why don't you just like play a telly or something? It was, so like they pointed it out, and maybe that got in my head that these are lame
What church was
guitars. This was Friend's Church, the one I worked at for a long time. Yeah,
That's
I'm
interesting.
I was
That's
wounded, you
interesting.
guys. Wounded.
What color was it?
It was black. It was just a black rosewood board.
Just all black.
Yeah.
They thought you were like a rocker.
Yeah, it looked like it was kind of like Creed was big. It's like this.
Well, I won't say who, but I will say I do have a friend who plays guitar for a living. And he got some similar feedback for an instrument, but that was like a real high production show.
The look of the guitar.
Yeah, they wanted something that kind of fit the style a little better.
Yeah.
And I would say the guitar was loosely out. I could see how someone would think it wasn't really quite. And then they want something that really nailed the style.
Everything
And it was
belonged,
like, yeah. So I mean, there's some legitimacy to it, I suppose. And I think guitars just hold in people's mind. Some people see an SG and go, "That's like the devil's guitar. It's got horns."
Yeah, that's true.
And we see an SG and we're like, "What are you talking about? This is like a pretty."
You're like, give me two of them.
Yeah, give me two. Bolt them together, glue them together. But we see it and it's like that's not even the most outrageous. You know what I mean? That's not even.
Should you play it in church?
Yeah, should you play it in church?
What about the BC Rich Warlock?
I think that was on that episode.
There was definitely a Warlock
Yeah.
on there. I think we even had a Warlock with like a lady in a bikini on it. I was like, would you
We had
play this?
a
in
whole
church?
game around this.
Those great 80s airbrush like portraits and stuff.
Yes. Wow.
Other ones were like skulls. Yeah, would you play it in church?
Interesting.
But anyway, okay, so you were scarred. You were
Maybe so.
scarred, and now you're
It
jaded.
got in my head that these are not cool guitars.
You're
They're
jaded
like-
from PR. Sooze, why don't you play that?
Okay.
Is this you got like a cleaner or a edge
Here's
breakup?
do you like the Stoogie Arshall?
I do.
Yeah, here's some Arshalls.
Is this like very
profiles.
clean? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll start with this should be clean.
Okay. Very stratty.
Yeah, go to like an in-between position there. See how the...
Can I put Sooze on the spot here?
You can. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, I had the same impression with the Silver Sky pickups, the expensive ones, the whatever, 63.5 they call them, right? The SC 63.5, I think it's something like that, or the JM 63.5. the pickups that they're making in the Silver Sky, and I just kind of had the same thing here. To me, they don't sound like Stratocaster pickups. They sound like the records. Like it sounds almost like this lovely, like mixed, produced. It almost sounds like the classic sound that I hear on records.
Like there's an EQ added on.
Like
top
it's
of it or
like it's like
something.
it's like I feel like it's like the sound that you would get just from listening to lots of old records, rather than a fatter 50s Strat. A lot of times I feel like in the guitar world, it's like, is it 50s? So it's real fat and like a little bit woolly. And then it's like, is it 60s? It's real thin and this. Same thing with like the Broadcaster. If you're referencing vintage pickups, you might come up with something a little different than how it ends up sounding on a record, which is always through an amp through this. Yeah. And I felt like the Silver Sky kind of feels way with this. That sound you just played to me, it sounds like a lot of just lovely Strat recordings.
Like finished guitars.
More than it reminds me of like, oh, that's a 50s or that's a fat.
Well, this is going to definitely be.
Stack.
It is beefier than a Silver Sky. I think if we did a A/B comparison, the Silver Sky sounds so stratty and glassy and has that classic Strat sound, and very uncharacteristic for PRS guitars, because that was never what they were about, But of course, they diversified their lineup of guitars now, and they have all sorts of things. I was going to put Sooze on the spot here. Let's go through some different patches and just see how he reacts to them.
Go ahead, Sooze.
We're still on the Arshel,
He's
though.
a pro at this. Go ahead.
Keep going. More juice.
Juicy.
Finally. How about some delay?
Yeah.
Now tell me why you hate that guitar.
Mostly this, the brand.
The headstock is so wrong.
It's just kind of a. Where are you at on this guitar? Like, are you gonna go like, oh yes, cool, I'll play that on Sunday?
I mean, this is a larger conversation about PRS, you know, where it's like, even the guitar you're holding, I love that guitar, and you love that guitar.
This is not your typical PRS, though.
No, it's not, but it's. I'll never sell that guitar because I think it's so great. I think they don't go for enough money. I would rather have that than the money. I think they're great. Obviously, it's a beautiful guitar. Look at that thing. The Santana headstock and the tiger stripe.
These are really good versions of these pickups.
Just
I'm saying specifically.
Yes.
Because I've played different guitars with the 5708s.
Those are the very first ones.
Something special about these.
Those are the ones where Paul found the original wire from the same maker. He found, I think, the wire, but it wasn't sold to pickup people. It was sold to somebody else. And somehow, when they created these pickups, isn't this what it is? Paul doesn't have the machines. He had the original wire. Isn't that it?
I thought he had the machines.
Or maybe he has the machine. I don't know.
I don't know. So.
I don't know. You want me to ask him?
I thought it was the wire. Yeah, text him. Could you?
Call him.
Paul.
Hey, Paul. It's me. Yeah.
Hey, Siri, call Paul Reed Smith.
You know what's funny? My wife... See, yours is talking. It doesn't see it in your contacts. My wife the other day, she tried to give Siri a command on her phone, and it ended up alerting both my son's watch and my phone. So all three of us were all trying to call the same person
At the same time.
Yeah, hers got through. Ours were.
And they probably thought you were punking them.
Yeah,
like,
it
okay,
was like
you're all
weird,
calling me.
Right.
This is funny.
So.
You don't like the headstock.
He doesn't like the headstock.
Here's the thing. I get that.
I just mean the brand.
Like, I get that because, I grew up on classic rock. I grew up seeing Jimmy Page and Ace Frehley play Gibson Les Pauls, and Angus Young had the SG with a Gibson headstock, and Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan had the Fender headstock, and all these recordings and these classic tones and these players that I loved were playing these iconic brands.
Yeah.
Then this comes along and it's like, well, it's not a Les Paul, it's not a Strat. And so I kind of get that for some people. Maybe this is not the case for you specifically, but some people just hate this headstock because I think in part it's just unusual. It's very distinct, and it's not really traditional. Of course, the rest of the guitar body here now is looking very traditional. It is very similar to a Strat.
Yeah.
It is.
But even the bird inlays. This is such a distinct, beautiful feature, but it is different. We're not used to seeing that.
Yeah.
People are used to the types of inlays you see on Gibsons and stuff like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I prefer the looks of that one you're holding. I think that's a really beautiful guitar.
To this one.
I wouldn't call this a beautiful guitar. Yeah. This is a guitar that looks like
I think
it looks
you're
like
beautiful.
PRS's version of
It's okay.
It looks like PRS's version of a more S-type instrument, and that's okay. I think what throws my eye off a little is I'm still not used to seeing PRS's with the all maple, maple board, maple neck, maple headstock. That's something I don't see. I know you see even the Silver Skies. I think look. I tend to prefer the rosewood Silver Sky. That looks right to me.
That's a good call.
But I don't know. But there's nothing wrong with that guitar. It looks good. This guitar, my larger opinion about PRS, this guitar, those are, I think, really great pickups. I thought the story was Paul had found some wire and some old Gibson wire that had been sold to somebody else for some other purpose. He found it in a warehouse or something. It came up for sale as a big lot. He bought it knowing that this could be used in pickups. It was like the right braid, whatever. And he was like, that's pickup wire. What's it doing here? Whatever. He buys it. And then because he bought it, he decided, I'm going to use this wire in these pickups. And that was the 5708. That happened in 08. And so he made 57, his version of 57 pickups. Because prior to this, there really had not been, to my knowledge, unless I'm remembering correctly, PRS had really not done a PAF. They had their own pickups. They had the treble and bass and the Dragon 2, and they had all these different pickups that they had put out. But there wasn't like and this was also, they had started doing the single cuts, and there was the lawsuit about it. And then this guitar came out right when the lawsuit was settled. And it was like, well, now we're going to do. And it seemed like once that lawsuit was settled, PRS went, well, now that we went through all that, we're doing single cuts forever. Because they've had more single cuts. And then the 594 has come out since then. And that's become, and the 594, this was before they did the two-piece bridge. I think it was a year later or 2 years later. It went to a two-piece bridge, and the 594 was kind of born. In my head, this guitar is like the before the 594 guitar. And then because this only got made for a little while, they called
this has a different headstock.
Yeah, and this has the Santana headstock. They called this the Ted McCarty because in this same time, Paul hired Ted McCarty to come work as a consultant at PRS, and he consulted them on manufacturing these single cut guitars. Ted McCarty, obviously of Gibson fame, who ran Gibson guitars when these guitars were made. He was the CEO of Gibson, running Gibson when the Les Paul was made and stuff. So they already had a tribute model, the McCarty, and I guess maybe the McCarty pickups were the closest thing they had to a PRS because they've always had a McCarty model. But they
You mean the closest thing to a Gibson?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. The McCarty was kind of like their closest thing. It was like, this is a tribute to Ted McCarty, who had been at Gibson, but those were called the McCarty. This was called the Ted McCarty, and then I guess this kind of makes way for the 594.
I mean, if we're talking about PRS, we really ought to have like a custom 24 or something.
Yeah, that's really the guitar that kind of made it. Yeah.
Body shape and headstock shape and everything. And that's really what I think he focused on and built his brand around. And I think he was trying to do something different, with the scale length and the design and the pickups. But eventually...
And Santana was one of the earliest guys to use those guitars, and he built Santana like, kind of a modified Gibson-esque looking thing with with smaller horns and a lot of neck access and the tremolo. And
what's interesting is that model never really took off. You don't really see
Yeah.
other artists playing the Santana
No.
guitars.
It's a little.
And even the sound of that guitar, and you didn't really see many guitar players emulating that. It's
Yeah.
funny how he was such a big endorsee and got so famous, but yet, you
Yeah.
know, Slash played a Gibson Les Paul, or a fake one initially
Mm-hmm,
for the Appetite album, and everybody wanted a Les Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Santana got huge, but it's interesting that like
Well, he played the SG early, like at Woodstock. He's on an SG, right? Those probably wasn't until the '80s that he got that PRS. Mm-hmm. So,
But when he released Supernatural and, you know, sold a
That's
gazillion
true.
albums,
You're right.
that
You're
was
right.
all
And not a-
PRS. But yet I think the demand, I could be wrong. I didn't see people playing Santana models. They were playing custom 24s.
Yeah, you're right.
I had one back in the day.
Yeah, you're right. They were expensive. The Santana SE looked nothing like it, but I do remember a lot of my getting one, and that was like the first SE model. Looked nothing like Santana's guitar. I think they just, and I don't even think it said PRS anywhere on the front. Which that was the thing. I wonder if PRS, on the back it said made by PRS Instruments, blah blah blah, Maryland in some country. I think it was in Korea. And but they put Santana as like the name of the guitar. It was like it said Santana Z on the headstock. Nowhere did it say PRS on the front. I remember the year PRS started putting the signature like that guitar. That wasn't that long ago. It was only.
Is it not on that one?
Well, no, it's there, but this is an SE model.
Oh,
for
right.
years
Oh, the
the SE
SE on the
models didn't
imports.
have the signature. It
Right.
didn't have the signature.
Yeah, they added that.
Yeah,
and-
they just said SE, I think.
yeah, they really made a lot of improvements that I think really cause you to consider an SC like over an S2, which is made in Maryland, or their core line, which is made in Maryland. Like the imports now. I mean, I'm happy with this for $800. It's like, what a killer. What
Now,
a
are those the
I'm very
same-
happy, and I think
Yeah.
it looks beautiful. By the way, I think it looks cool. I actually wanted the maple neck because it comes in a couple different colors, and you can get maple or rosewood. And I chose maple just because I didn't have a maple. What did I say? I chose maple because I didn't have a maple neck PRS guitar, but now I do.
My general opinion, there sometimes in guitars is like a lack of mojo in PRS guitars. If there is a guitar aesthetically, a company aesthetically, that hits on the, they're sometimes the tiger stripe and the flames and the maple is a little out. It's a little much. It appeals to, I think, the same person who likes a bright colored Ferrari. There's very little subtlety in some of the aesthetics. They'll do these deep greens and stuff, and it's very like striped, and it's like, well, you gotta love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it can be, I think, and sometimes the looks of some of the more ornate ones can be a little bit polarizing, where you don't see actually a ton of Gibsons with the heavy blue or pink, in that like they do stick to the vintage finishes. I think that is a way that PRS obviously has a lot of classic looking instruments and a lot of solid colors and stuff. So I think, but there is some of the aesthetic about it that reminds me a little bit of a Corvette. A little bit of a guy in jean shorts and Nike Monarchs with tube socks sticking up. It's the dad shorts. Maybe he's got a chain, a little bit of chest hair, and he's getting out of like a 97 Corvette. It's red. It's seam, but you know what I mean?
He's
off the top
playing
of
this
your head.
beautiful $4,000 PRS at
Yes.
his classic rock gig, but he's dressed like a dad.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder, like, this
Yeah.
doesn't go together. Like,
Yeah.
you have this gorgeous guitar, and then you're dressed like a total
that,
bum.
yeah. And he's a patent attorney, and
He's done well for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He holds the ruler up to the grass outside his house, and it's right at the right. You know what I'm saying? It's that there's his wife wants him to change the bird feeder and stuff and get it a couple more feet away from the pool. And
Not mojo. You're not describing
no mojo. He's really convincing his daughter, if you just move off campus next year, some of these rents are cheaper than we're paying for the dorms.
Yeah.
I don't know
Have
why
you
she
looked
can't.
at the numbers?
And the wife's a little concerned about the security because it's 5-6 blocks. She has some evening classes,
Right.
and it gets dark.
Yeah.
He's saying it gets dark. It's not even October yet. It stays light outside late. And so
Oh, no.
that's
we lost Desi. We lost Desi.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the guy. Desi's gonna get pumped for a
Yeah.
minute. Yeah, go ahead. I always have these here.
Yeah, they're
because
just-
you're only doing the 25s. Do I need to get you with the 35?
Let's see. Oh,
Oh.
look at that.
Excuse me. Wait. Do I need to? Excuse me. Let's here. Wait,
Whoa. I'll just hold this beautiful PRS.
Okay. Anyway, that was
I'll
that
say
was the
this.
30, not the 35. No false advertising, please.
I am a PRS fan, but I do think that PRS guitars were lacking the same mojo and character that we were used to with the other iconic brands. And that was, although I don't think that's true anymore, actually. Like I said, they've really diversified, their lineup, and they, I think that the McCarty 594 has a lot of character, great guitar. I have a DGT, the David Grissom, a lot of character with those pickups. The Silver Sky, they nailed it. It's like, it has a lot of vintage Strat qualities to it, and I think that that's why the brand has probably become more popular. As people are like, it's not just the PRS that we remember from the 1990s or something like that. I think that there's a lot more mojo and character to their guitars now. I really like this new pickup design here, and it worked really, really well. This is kind of an interesting version of, I don't know that they necessarily designed this to be like a super Strat to do 80s rock stuff, but boy, did it work really well for that. And yet it's got the build quality and the ergonomics of a PRS. I'm more comfortable on this than I am if I had just bought like an HSS Strat or something like that.
Strat.
But anyway, I do get like some of these criticisms. I think they're real. You know that.
I'll say this: I love John Mayer, and when I go to see his shows, I go, I wish he was playing a Strat.
Oh, I don't feel that way.
You like him on a PRS?
I think he sounds tremendous. I want him to play that guitar.
Okay.
And I think it's like I think it's almost like that Silver Sky has become its own thing. Like
Oh,
it's
it
like
for sure
it's like
has.
I don't even think of it as a PRS. It's like a
like
Silver
it's
Sky.
John Mayer,
It's like in the
yeah.
same way the Cybertruck doesn't have the Tesla logo.
Up here we go.
We're in. See ya.
Talking
It's-
about food,
it's-
check. Talking about Teslas, check.
Talking.
Politics, let's
There
just
we
throw
go.
that
We
in
said,
there.
yeah. Was it your dad?
He's turning 80.
Yeah, he's younger than Joe Biden and Donald. So there we go.
And
we talked
Huey
to,
Lewis, 2024, like running for president. So.
How old is Trump?
aren't they 80? Aren't they 80?
I thought he was high 70s. Like
Oh, is he 79?
78 or
Okay, guys, it's just.
But
a
he'll
joke.
be in
It
his
just-
80s.
How old is Donald Trump?
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. This is
We're getting flagged.
78.
78. Okay,
How
fine.
old is Joe Biden?
I think he's 82.
How old is Joe Biden?
81.
81.
So he'd be
He's-
85.
I think he's 82 when he'll be sworn in. I think is what Joe will be.
So
Oh, they look
yeah.
more like they were 150.
Joe looks 182. Can we? Let me just make a comment because there were some people in the comments last time who said, "You guys believe in conspiracy theories?" You guys are serious about this because we were talking about fake people.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this. And
It's
I
a
don't know
good
why I
one,
just thought
Desi.
of this. I thought if Mark Zuckerberg had a signature guitar, it might be that one you're holding.
Wow.
I don't know what that means. But I do want to say, because we did touch on conspiracy theories in the last episode, conspiracy theories make the world more fun. And I think, they do.
It's a good
They
opener.
do. You know what I mean?
Just putting his cards on the
Conspiracy
table.
theories.
Lots of good openers for this.
Conspiracy theories make the world more fun. And I just want to say this. I know conspiracy theories are crazy. And it's one of these things where it's like once you get into one conspiracy theory, you're into all the conspiracy
For
theories,
sure,
right?
yeah.
It's like as soon as you say the moon landing could be fake,
Yeah.
you're also asking who killed John Kennedy.
Right.
What are they hiding with
Flat
the
Earth,
aliens?
all the stuff, yeah.
Flat Earth, and what's beyond the ice wall, and it's all these things. The giant of Kandahar. Anyway,
I don't know.
Look it up. I'm just saying. U.S.
Did he
Special
play with Huey
Forces.
Lewis?
U.S. Special
I
Forces
think so.
09 encountered the giant of Kandahar, and don't let the skeleton out. We're just saying. Anyway,
This is going great.
the point I'm saying is the craziest conspiracy theory of all is that they tell us everything. You see, some of the truth will end up being a conspiracy theory.
Right.
Now, Try to find the truth among all of the crazy. That's the interesting thing, because everyone you're not getting the real story on this and that and this. It's everything's spun. Everything's this. We got one world government saying this, another world government saying this. You got one channel saying this, another channel saying that. We don't know anything. We're not there. I don't know about the giant of Kandahar. But what I'm saying
That's twice.
What I am saying
That
is
sounds like it would be an epic rock instrumental.
the giant of
You should
Kandahar.
ask AI to compose
That's
that.
what we need to.
Hey,
The Giant
we're
of
going to make a song
Kandahar.
called
That
The Giant
could be
of
a
Kandahar.
Metal Junkie
That'll
pack.
be it. I love it. That's it.
That's the next
The
one.
Giant of Kandahar. If you really believe that everything we're being told, about anything,
Yeah.
is true, then you're naive to the fact that everyone has an agenda, everyone has a perspective, and history is told by the winners, And so,
So how about this? In some cases, believing that something is a conspiracy theory.
I think it's a real sign of intelligence.
Well, no, I was saying at some point things switch where the conspiracy becomes that you don't listen to people who are maybe being critical for good reason, and then you become the conspiracy theory. Like you're like, no, I'm not going to even consider what this person is proposing here. That's crazy. I'm going to stick with the narrative that I know. But then, you see what I'm saying? Like then you kind of become the conspiracy theorist.
You're part of the...
Because because the whole idea of if you believe in a conspiracy is that you're attaching on to some idea irrationally or something. But in some cases, okay, I'm like, there's good reason for people to question things, you know? And maybe it's not a conspiracy. The conspiracy is that we are writing them off as conspiracy theorists, but that's the real conspiracy.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Real
That was deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was deep.
And today we have news stories that switch very quickly, and things that were conspiracies become publicly known information. I'll give you one right now. There was this thing
The
called
giant of
Kandahar. The
There
giant
you
of
go,
Kandahar.
3
No, I'll give you
times.
one right now. The lab leak theory. I remember when the lab leak theory was a conspiracy, and it was called a conspiracy. And now there have been, in the last couple months, a bunch of people testifying before Congress, and several government agencies have said, this is what we think happened. This is much more likely. We've had scientists say this is what happened from the very beginning. And now it's almost no one actually takes it seriously that COVID started in a wet market. That's not even the leading thing anymore. The thing is, they do believe there was a lab leak. And you can, I don't know if people are keeping up with anything, but there's a whole thing in front of Congress right now about people looking at emails where people who were at the, Dr. Fauci and at the NHS and all these places were changing the name of certain words and people's names. They were changing S's to dollar signs. They were changing the A's to @ symbols. Why? So that when the media did a Freedom of Information request, which they were allowed to do, and they said, Freedom of Information request, we'd like to see all the emails that you guys have at this government agency that are unclassified that contain this. And they were purposefully misspelling words so that certain emails would not come up in that search. And in these emails, they were discussing here's where someone's talking. Here's where this expert said this, and he works for us. We don't like that. We don't want them talking about this. We don't want this and that, and we don't want this discussion. This isn't what the message we're trying to send. We're trying to send a very clear message about this is what we need people to do right now. And then in the end, it turns out, so that conspiracy theory was actually kind of what happened. That was actually kind of true. There's another one I remember recently. Somebody left their laptop at a repair place, and we were all told this was a Russian ploy. And then a couple months later, the New York Times just magically puts on page 30 or whatever, and by the way, we have authenticated the laptop. It really did belong to a certain influential politician's son. And the emails and pictures and all the documents on there were real. And they outline a bunch of stuff They outline a bunch of, hey, I'll get you a meeting with the big guy. Hey, here's me and some photos of me doing cocaine with some chick who I probably paid at the end of the night. There's all these things. My point is, this was...
We're going to get blocked.
This was supposed
now, you
to
realize
be...
Yeah.
this is going to get
it's
flagged
fine,
and
it's
taken
fine,
off
it's
of...
fine, it's
You
fine.
must be new here.
It's fine. My point
This is
is...
just a Wednesday.
My point is... My point is, it's funny to me when people go, oh, you really are into conspiracy theories. And I'm like, look, I'm only mid-30s. And I'm only mid-30s. And I've just seen the past few years things go from conspiracy to the truth.
I get it, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think if you're not into some conspiracy theories, you're not thinking.
Okay, I do admire your intellect and respect you. I will respect you even more if you can somehow tie conspiracy theories back into PRS guitars and today's podcast. So, with that said,
and that's where it comes to we believe these certain narratives. We hear them, and this is the authority, and what the authority sort of says we're supposed to believe. And if you accept anything else, any variation of that, that's wrong. And that's just like when we see the traditional body styles, like the Les Paul, like your traditional Stratocaster, Telecaster. Who says you can't have a guitar that looks like this? Not Paul. He says you can have a guitar that looks like this.
But we were told one thing.
We were told this is what
Yeah.
a 3-pickup single coil guitar looks like, but it can also look like this. What else aren't they telling us?
And this might be more true than the other
It
one.
might be more true. This is how crazy the world is right now. This happened to me, and my sons talked about it for 2 days straight. We're in line at a McDonald's. Okay, I brought my kids to church on Sunday. My youngest, my daughter, who's almost a year, she had a little fever, so we said let's not take her out. So my wife stayed home with her. I brought the boys to church. This was you and I were playing together.
Good time.
So we had to be there at what time? 7:30?
Sure.
7:15, something like that. And then we played till 12, right? 12:15, 12:30, and then you got to pack up. So you're kind of there 7:30 to 1-ish, you can't get anywhere before 1 o'clock, So I told my kids the night before, I said, you guys got to come with me. It's going to be a little bit of a long day. You got to go to both services. So I texted ahead. I said, my boys will be there. Can they help with the lessons in kids' church? We'll be at both services. And they said, yes, we'd love that. Here you go. Okay. I said, you guys got something important to do? Here you go. So they're in for a long day. So I told them, if you guys, come to both services, I know I'm taking you along all day, we'll go get McDonald's for lunch after. And they're like, yes, we're going to get McDonald's for lunch. So afterwards, we go to the McDonald's. And you know how the McDonald's drive-through line, it's on the side of the building usually. On a lot of McDonald's, it's just, there's a line on the side of the building, and then it splits into two boards where
Left
you can
and right,
order
yeah.
left and right? And then it quickly comes back together. So maybe you can have one guy at each, microphone, and then maybe one other car can kind of pull behind them. But then you're back to one line. It's not a huge kind of thing. But it's enough to get more cars up there to order. So I pull up, and 2 cars split, and 1 car, he turns towards the inner lane, and there's a curb. And the curb blocks me from going around him. See, if I go around him, I'm going to hit a curb and some grass and stuff. So I have to wait for him to move up about 2 or 3 feet before I can go. So I'm stopped. But there's a considerable amount of room. It's not wide enough for my car. But I'd say it's several feet wide. It's 4 feet wide maybe. And there's a guy behind me. And then I see another guy come behind me. And then I see this yellow Porsche pull up alongside me, and I see exactly what he's going to do. He's going to try and pull in because he was in the very back and he thought I wasn't pulling forward and going to the other side. He thought maybe I'm under the impression you can only use one side of the drive-thru.
Right.
So he goes out of line, passes 1, 2, and I'm the third car, and he tries to go in, and then when he gets there with this very low Porsche, bright yellow, guys, you could not miss this car.
He plays a PRS.
He plays a PRS, for sure, a Santana model. And he's got a Silver Sky, too. He's got that Nebula one that's like 10 grand just because it's like a funny paint color.
That's the one.
He pulls up right next to me, and I think at this moment he realizes, oh, there's a curb here.
Now
there's
he
a
can
hard
see.
curb.
Yeah.
this from back there I couldn't see it,
Right.
but there's a hard curb and there's a little bit of grass, and so he goes right there. So I just look over at him, and he's doing that thing where he will not look to the side because he'd be looking at me.
Right, eye contact.
So then he goes, and I'm throwing my hands up. I'm going, "What are you doing?" And my kids go, "What's he doing?" You know, he backs up, goes around the curb, and his car is almost facing the drive-through window now. He tries to come in and turn really sharply to get there, and he's not really lined up with the mic, and he's kind of going, he rolls his window down like he's going to yell to it to order because he's like too far
He's
out
close
now.
enough, yeah.
So at this moment, the car in front of me moves forward. I now have all the room in the world to assume my position.
Right.
I go straight towards the Porsche. If I went all the way forward, if I just kept going, I would T-bone him because he's like that crooked in
Like
the
perpendicular to the
line.
thing,
Yes. Good word.
Yeah.
And
That's a good one.
I honk, and without looking at me, he waves like, or sorry,
I'm
or
busy.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You know, like oops or something.
Yeah.
I roll down my window and I go, "Hey man, there's a whole line here." And he goes, "What, are you in a hurry or something?" This is an old dude, old enough to be president, you know? So he says to me, "What, are you in a hurry or something?" And I go, "It doesn't matter if I'm in a hurry. There's a line." And he goes, and I said, "You're being very rude by cutting the line." And then he goes, Okay, I'll just move. You're in a Tesla. Go ahead. And I'm thinking,
This has nothing to do with this.
So I said, "It doesn't matter what car I'm in. You're cutting everyone in line, you know?"
Right.
And he goes, and he's going, back, go ahead. And he backs the car up. And I go forward, and my dad and my kids are going, what is he doing? What is he doing? I said, he's just being a jerk. He's just cutting everyone in line because I guess he decided no, even if I wasn't going forward,
Right.
that
It's not his
problem
turn.
would get settled, and the next guy would just fill in.
the guy
and,
behind you.
And, it could delay us. You know what I mean? Like me not paying attention could delay. But that's not even what was going on.
No.
I couldn't get by. There was a curb. And then once he came up and realized there was a curb, oops.
What's funny is he asked if you were in a hurry, but he was the one
He
trying
was
to...
the one not being
Just
patient.
wait.
And then he's like, go ahead. You have a Tesla. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of this thing we talked about on the podcast where I look at the world and I go, there's a bunch of people out there that look at something like the Tesla, and it's so divisive for no reason. They look at the Tesla and they go, "Oh, these EV drivers, and they want to take away our gas engines, and Joe Biden is trying to cram electricity down our throat, and the government is supporting all these EVs, blah, 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 blah." And then it's like, I'm against EVs. They're on the left. Then you get all these people who go, "Oh, Elon Musk owns Tesla. I heard what he said about this. He loves Donald Trump, and he's a fascist and a neo this and a blah, 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 and Elon Musk, and I don't like them because Tesla's conservative." And so you get like this hate from people who are just projecting this story of like, Tesla means you're on this side. No, Tesla means you're on this side. And it's just, I'm just against something. And I'm looking at this guy going, here you are on a Sunday afternoon, probably in no hurry at all, joyriding in your bright yellow Tesla,
Right.
Old enough to be the president. You'll probably be the nominee. And you're just, you're what? In such a hurry? You're cutting the line at the local McDonald's?
And then yelling at
And then acting just flabbergasted when someone's like, "What, are you in a hurry?"
Right.
What if I was in a hurry?
Yeah.
And no, go ahead. You have a Tesla. Like I'm so entitled for saying you're cutting the line.
Yeah.
You're cutting. So it's just it's crazy. So then I told that guy, I said, "Listen," I got out of my car and I walked over to him and I said, "Listen, we didn't land on the moon. The trash companies killed JFK. It was the mafia.
Wow.
And the giant of Kandahar is real. You should look it up." And no.
Also, have you tried the new PRS
Yeah.
SNF3?
Yeah, you'll probably love it.
And then he said to me, "Do you know what's on the other side of the ice wall?" And then yeah.
You guys are best friends now?
Yeah, he gave me the secret flat Earth symbol, and then we high-fived, and
Just for my own clarity, did you get out of your car?
absolutely not.
Okay,
This
okay.
state has
Do not engage.
This state has no permit concealed carry, so I assume everyone has a firearm.
Sure. Okay.
And they should assume I
Got
have
your
one as
boys
well.
with
There you
you.
go.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Each of them have firearms.
Did you
as
ever
well.
see this guy go back in line, or did he just
Yes.
leave the
Oh, yes, yes.
McDonald's?
Once I ordered, he pulled in right behind me, still cutting
Cutting
other
off the
people
dude?
behind
Oh
me.
my
Yes,
gosh.
yes. And I thought about for a second, I thought, you know what? I'm going to pay for his meal.
Wow. It's Sunday after all.
It's Sunday after all.
Yeah.
But then I realized he's in a bright yellow Porsche. He can pay for his own meal.
Fine.
Yeah.
If only it was Saturday, you could have been at Chick-fil-A instead.
Do you know what I wanted to tell him? I wanted to tell him when he's like, no, go ahead, you're in a Tesla. I wanted to be like, sir, I'm probably going to vote for Trump. Like, you've misread me.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was more offended by that. You know?
There's a lot to be offended by.
There was a lot.
Yeah.
But when he was like, no, go ahead, you're in a Tesla, it made me feel like I was like, excuse me, sir, I've lived here we're going on a decade.
Right.
We're in year 9, right? I have voted incumbent up and down the ticket since I moved here.
And where did you come here from?
Well, okay, Desi, I'm a refugee
From
from San Francisco, Desi.
Okay, well, you had to mention that because you have to mention people moving from California.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I know
Terrible ideas
I know
that
this
ruin
gentleman
our
is scarred by what's going on here. But I wanted to say to him, you've misread me. I have this car because it's cool. I have voted incumbent here for 10 years, regardless of the political party, just because I don't want it to change. I want to make change hard until I really have earned the right to change it. I think I'm coming up on 10 years. I think my opinions are now. I'm no longer someone who's just moving here, bringing my ideas, trying to turn this place into another place I was, you know? But I intentionally have been, I don't want anything to change here. No change. No change. I can't come here with my idea of progress and assert it on here and go, good news, guys, I'm here with my great ideas. I'm here to fix this wonderful place that you made, but I would rather live in
They
the place
ruined
I
your
was.
state.
Right.
You bringing them to Nashville?
Right. Don't do that.
No.
But I wanted to be, and now here I am going, Joe, no thanks. You know, I don't know. So what am I going to do?
Wow.
Maybe abstain? Maybe vote for the orange guy? Maybe I'll vote for a libertarian again. That's what I've been doing. I've been giving my vote to those guys.
Can we still pencil in Ralph Nader?
You
that still
can.
an
I don't
option?
think he's not on the ballot anymore. I've been writing. Gary Johnson got my vote the last couple of times. Kanye got it last time.
That might have gone over your guys' head.
I
But
know
for
Nader.
anyone my age or older,
Yeah.
they're like, ha ha, Ralph Nader. I don't even know if he's still alive.
Ralph ran in 08. He was on the ballot in 08. He was.
Is Ralph Nader still alive?
That's a good question. Anyway. But now, see, I said that, Sooze. I said I probably end up voting for that guy. And now people are going to be in the comments. You think that you're this, you're this. I never voted for him before.
The comment sections are a real vibe.
Comment sections are really there. But I'll just say this. I've never voted for him before. If I vote for him, this would be the time I vote for him. Because I don't know how we're looking at this current guy thinking this is okay. I'm watching a lot of people take in Joe right now, and it's like they don't want to accept what they're seeing. Like it's too much for them, and they're like, no, that's not true, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. They're like going like this.
Put your head in the sand.
And it's the most childish reaction. I'm just kind of like, guys, can we just acknowledge what's right in front of us for a moment?
Yeah.
This isn't a partisan thing.
Yeah,
Everything
totally.
else aside. So, but hey, if the Dems can show up with if they would just run like a middle guy, they'll win me. Like so easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't like these choices.
Well, Ralph Nader is still alive.
Well, maybe he could.
He could come on back
Listen,
in.
there is no too old. What is he, 92?
90 years old. So he's really not that far off.
Is he
from-
riding a bike? Because
Solid.
apparently the standard is if you don't fall off this bike on camera,
Right.
you can be president. And then if you do fall off the bike, you're definitely going to be president, because that's what happened to Joe. He was like, let me get on this bike and I'll ride. And then he fell over, and everyone's like, oh, and he's like, I'm fine. And then the president's fine. Look how, see, some people, hey, active life.
Yeah,
It's like,
things happen.
okay, we got really political here. I said I wasn't going to get.
Can I see this?
You want this back? Okay.
It just makes me think of Huey Lewis.
I said I wasn't going to get political anymore, but we
what
are.
this world
Here we
really
are.
needs is just more love,
Go ahead.
This is
right? The power of love.
Let's hear it.
Let's do it.
And
This is the only way out of that diatribe.
I'm thinking about the bridge here with some of the most beautiful chord changes you'll hear in 80s
Yeah.
rock.
the power of love.
That's beautiful.
Episode 39.
That's beautiful. Episode 39. Before we go, we'll end with this. Yeah, people are watching me make statements and things. You're watching a man try to go ahead, Desi. You're watching a man try to come to terms with what he has to do in November, which is like, no matter what, I'm going to end up voting for someone who I wouldn't want my children to look up to, someone who I wouldn't want to watch my kids for fear they'd be sniffed. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want you sniffing my kids, and I don't want you being an example to my kids. So, it's like, we all are just out here going, well, what's worse? And it's like the old thing. It's like, sir, how can I help you today? And it's like, I'll take the shit sandwich. Sir, would you like cheese with that? That's the only choice, really. Right? Like, you're getting served the shit sandwich no matter what. Your only choice is the illusion of choice. That is, would you like some Monterey Jack cheese with that? Or do you want to go for like a cheddar or some sort of a wine? You want to go crazy? How about a wine-infused, burnt barrel head cheese slice, Whoa, we've never done that in this country before. But at the end of the day, it's just a bad meal you don't want to eat. So I'll just say, before anyone tries to get on here and tell me, oh, how could you say you might vote for that guy? Yeah, how could you say you might vote for the other guy? You know what I mean? It's like, who's worse? Bernie or Sauron? You know what I mean? By Bernie, I don't mean Bernie Sanders. I mean the man from Weekend at Bernie's. The dead corpse they were holding around and running around. You see what I'm saying? Or Sauron. That's the orange man in this case. Right? It's like, who do you want to be the president? The dead guy from Weekend at Bernie's or Sauron? I feel like that's the choice.
Right.
And I'm over here going like, well, one would be funny. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But the other would be more exciting. Like, tell me you don't want to a little bit see Sauron's inauguration speech. You're not a little bit curious?
What you might say.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like certain annihilation, probably.
Huh.
But I certainly don't want those two college kids who had Bernie, strung up for the whole weekend in charge of the country.
They fooled a lot of people.
You know what I mean?
Also, I believe it's pronounced sit sandwich.
Sit sandwich. Oh, is it? That was a good joke. That was a really good joke, Yeah. So, here we are, and people are going to jump in the comments. They're going to, oh, wow, I didn't take you for this type of person. I didn't take you for this type of person. I didn't take the world for this type of world. I thought someone was in control.
Here we are.
Now I just think maybe no one's in control.
Yeah.
Maybe we're...
You know what? You've been so all over the place. You're still an enigma to me.
Yes.
So I can't really...
Yeah.
Right.
Right. But people
Put
a lot
you
of
in a
times will
box.
just hear whatever they want to hear. You know what I mean? And, I never voted for either of these guys. I don't want to vote for either of them. So maybe I'll write in Jesus or something. But I don't think he's going to be able to take Pennsylvania. That's the problem. Can Jesus take Pennsylvania?
Probably not.
Probably not spending enough money there. Not enough. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Well, this has been Guitar Phone. What podcast are we on anymore?
Do you want me to play us out?
This has been Guitar Friends.
Yeah,
episode 39.
Thought I already did play us out with the power of love.
Sooze, is there any clips we're going to edit out of this?
Gosh, I don't know.
No, I don't
John
think
2
so.
leaves for 1 week, and this is what happens?
This is what happens.
Yeah, we allowed this?
It somehow gets less political. I thought he was the thing making it more political.
It turns out.
Wow. I will say this. There were some pretty good Biden jokes today.
Okay.
Those were some pretty good ones.
Maybe that's a clip.
Maybe that's, yeah.
Like a, what do they call it?
Like a
short?
montage.
Yeah, it's like a vertical short. Yeah.
I mean, I called him Bernie, and no one even got it until I explained it was Weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We thought maybe people thought it was Bernie Sanders.
Right.
He's still out there, young enough to be president again. He might run in 8 years, 4 years. We need more spry 90-year-olds in the White House.
Well,
Well, Desi, let's why don't you play us out? I've been HW.
I've been Sooze.
I'm Desi Cerna. But another thing about Joe Biden, though, is that